Most Muslims don't know how to set goals, and you're probably one of them. But say no more, because I also struggle with that as well, and I was able to finally bring up a blueprint you can use to make progress to any goal. So without wasting any of your time, here's my blueprints to achieving any single goal. Step number one. We all know this, but for some reason when I just say it out loud, or when someone just say it out loud, you just get turned off. Yes, your niyyah, your intention. We all know this, and to give a context, I used to think like anybody just talking about the niyyah, I'm just like we've heard this thing 1,000 times, like yo, the niyyah should be for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, yeah, yeah, whatever. And I used to think, okay, yeah, we already know this, like you don't need to talk about it again, we already know this. And there was a goal I was having in 2024. I mean this, I talked about this so many times in my channel. This goal, for the last 52 days of the year, I would sit down to memorize. I would sit down to complete the Quran. I said I was gonna memorize the entire Quran in 52 days. And bear in mind, I had like 4 juz at that time. I did memorize a few pages in the next after the 4 juz, just that I've forgotten. So I said, okay, I'm gonna sit down about half juz a day. Every single day, I'm gonna neglect everything. I'm gonna block everything. What could possibly go wrong if I just say no to every single person and yes to my Quran? I say after some time, every single person warned me against that. They just say, nah, you don't know. I am so ambitious. I'm gonna do this. I have just this feeling of we're getting this thing. And I was just starting, I started from like Surah, yeah, just from Surah Nisa. Surah Nisa was getting like really, really tough, like really tough. But it was getting somehow like, I would say tough and easier at the same time. I was not memorizing to the point that I would have all the pages in my head. I would just memorize this page, open the Quran, see, I had no this page, I would just close it and memorize this page, next page, and that's how I've been doing. And when I read about Surah Al-Hud, that's when everything starts to change. Because at that point, in Surah Al-Hud, I said, okay, it's starting to get hard. I will sit down literally, I will try to memorize, but it's just that the moment I remember the line of the page, I forgot the next thing. I will memorize this page, and when I move to the next page, I forgotten the part. And it was just getting hard because I was having a backlog of forgotten in the because from the 4 to around sort of is like how many juice? About 10, 11, yeah. So about just 7 juice. I was not able to push through. I tried. I was not able to do that. It was just getting hard. Literally, some days like there was a day I went to the masjid. My mom was sick, and I was supposed to sit down and take care of my mom. Nobody was in the house. And I was like so pissed off. I wanted to do Quran as well. And my mom is sick. She was like still really sick. I was just like, what should I really do? And I really, really wanted to do the Quran. And so I made a mistake of leaving my mom sick at home. And I went to the masjid. In the masjid, I was not able to memorize a single ayah. I was just getting pissed off. Like this, I built up about a big amount of like guilt. After like 30 minutes, I was not able to memorize, and I sat down trying to memorize. I would be moving back and forth trying to memorize. I would cycle going around like looking at my Quran, walking around. I'm not able to memorize, and I had to just come back home. Just come back home like same thing the next day. Another problem would arise, another problem. Before it was just overwhelming to the point that I just gave up on that goal. Those 60 days or 52 days was done. The previous 4 juice I had was gone. The next 7 to 8, so maybe I think I did about two and a half the Quran, and all of it was gone at that time. That's why I'm really trying to you want to understand like the niyyah. My niyyah at that time was just to impress my friends and show them that I can do it. I am special. I am this extraordinary person. Whatever, I'm like this ambitious person. And another thing that got into my mind was that why is it that non-Muslims were able to achieve impossible feats and we Muslims are behind? And I was thinking like we have the Quran, we have the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, we have du'as, we have this Tahajjud, Salah, and everything that can propel us to our goals, can propel us to achieve our goals. Just that why the non-Muslims that do not pray Salah, they have so much money? Why is it that people that don't recite the Quran have so much of say barakah in their wealth and everything? And I was just thinking like for a while this question haunted me for a while, and I was like it was just shaking my iman. And about I think 2 years, I was able to understand. Okay, the concept of qadr. That is what's draining most of the Muslims. The thing is that don't get me wrong, qadr is very very important. You need to understand when something is decreed for you, it is decreed for you, and when something is not decreed for you, you're not gonna get it at all. The Muslims, for some reason, I'm not talking about general Muslims, I'm talking about specific Muslims. Certain Muslims, you'll just say, nah, this is probably not ordained for me, so I'm not gonna do that. And in fact, I used to see like scholars. I think it was Ibn Qayyim that said, no matter how hard you try on something that is not decreed for you, you would not get it. And I'm not really. You can like I don't want you to like quote me. I'm not. I'm just trying to remember the thing he said. I just it's out of context, but the thing he said probably like that. And I was thinking like, how is it that those non-Muslims were able to do the things that the Muslims are not able to do? And I realized that I am not the Prophet Sallallahu. I don't have any form of why. How would I know that this thing is decreed for me, and how would I know that this thing is not decreed for me? It's not. For a while, I thought, okay. For a while, I thought, okay. If I fail so many times, that means it is not decreed. But if we take examples of non-Muslims, for example, one of the most controversial people is like Thomas Edison, the light bulb. Some people say it's about 1,000 days. Some people say about 300 days, whatever. Let's just take 1,000 days. Imagine failing for 1,000 days for you to be able to create a light bulb. Imagine, okay, if you just said, okay, because I failed 30 times or 100 times, I'm not gonna get this. Imagine if you thought that there would be no light bulb probably in this world. But because he had the mentality of never give up, and the Muslim for some reason when you just fail the first time, second time, probably about a month, 2 months, even a year, if you fail for about a year, you say, nah, this is not decreed for me, let me just pursue something else. And this is my own personal opinion. I'm not saying that this is what Islam says. This is just my personal opinion. I ask myself, okay, how would I know if something is decreed for me, and how would I know that something is not decreed for me? I realize, okay, if I'm able to achieve something, that is the only point you understand, okay, this is decreed for me. And if I'm not able to achieve, if I gave up completely, I'm not talking about giving up or coming back, I'm talking about just abandoning the thing and just pursuing something else. That is when you realize, okay, at that point, it is not decreed for you. But when you're struggling, when you're failing constantly, you don't have the right to think of this is not decreed for me. How will you know that? It's just your brain just telling you lies. Like your brain doesn't want to fail, or doesn't want this like fear and everything. That is just saying, nah, this is blah 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 blah. You're just talking about pursue something else. Like not all these things. Like trust me, the brain is very very good at just manipulating people like that. And hopefully after this, you realize, okay, the other. It is true what the scholars say. It is true if something is not done for you. But think about it. The problems you're facing, for example, you're failing, constantly failing. That doesn't mean you don't have this. This doesn't mean it's not decreed for you. Sometimes when you fail, for example, it will train you for something better. Okay. The moment you abandon that thing, that's when you understand. Okay, this is not decreed for. Because I have so many questions. Like some of my students, even in our madrasa, was telling me like, I had some people saying like, now what if it's not decreed for me? What if I'm not the type of person that memorizes the Quran? What if I'm not the selected people that will be able to memorize the Quran? How would you know that? The only way you know that is when you achieve the Quran, memorize the Quran, or when you failed completely and just stop doing the Quran. That's when you know. And even if you fail, that doesn't mean 100% it is not decreed for you, because some of the times that you fail, you will come back and do it the next time. Okay? Try to understand the niyyah. The non-Muslim might not have the niyyah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you are a Muslim. Okay? They will just only get the reward for this world. You would get the reward for this world and the next. And in fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you. Look at the non-Muslims, they constantly struggle. They will not show you the struggle, they will only show you the success. Okay? They will not show you any of the struggle, any of the heartbreaks, the so many things, negative emotions, negative things that happen in their life. Some of them, like I think was it Mosi was saying that before a self school, you have to like buy a trampoline and be jumping for him to be entering a good mood. They will not show you all the bad things, they will only show you the good things, and some of them will show you a slight small negative things. So you will be thinking, okay, like, this will really know what they're talking about. You are a Muslim. Have the niyyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will not change you, it will not make, For example, some people used to think like when they say niyyah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will think like, oh, now this is only for ibadah. No, anything can be for the sake of Allah. Anything, anything, I'm telling you. So have the niyyah for the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the very first step. And I took a while because this thing I have internalized this to myself because I have been struggling with this niyyah part. And I was saying like, nah, I don't really need this. You need this more. That is what the very first hadith in, I think it's the 40 Arba'un hadith. إنما الأعمال بالنيات. The very first thing, talking about niyyah and niyyah. The second step is to get a journal. I have about 2 journals with me. These 2 journals. This journal is for my, like, all the negative emotions I have. I'm trying to like process those emotions. I'll write it. Any experience I have, I'll write it there. Any lessons I realize in the world, I'll write it there. It's just like a reflective journal. I have so many pages written like there. So many. Well, I've been writing this for about a year now. For almost a year, I would say. From around August 2025. And I have about like 2 or 3 journals that I've written like in 2024 and whatever. This is the journal I want you to get. I'm not talking about like this specific journal or whatever. It's just that this kind of journal, I like that because first of all, it's very compact. You can keep it whatever you want. I'm not trying to advertise this. Don't get me wrong. I prefer having a journal or a notebook rather than having a piece of paper. Get this. You can pause the video if you have any notebook close to you. Write it down. I would really prefer to get the journal. I would highly recommend if you want this blueprint to help you, you have to get a journal or get a notebook. Then step number 3, write down 4 categories of your goals. You probably think I've said like write down 4 goals like that. No. Categories of your goals. And you probably never heard someone talking about this. Get categories of your goals. I divide my goals into 4 parts. There's the Qur'an goals. There's my work goals. There's the family relationship goals. And there's also like health and fitness. It doesn't really need to be like this, but just have, because some people just remove Qur'an. I have Qur'an as like the big thing. So after writing down those categories, you can take your time and think about it. You don't need to be like my own. And then write down a micro and a macro goal. A micro goal means a goal that is just for a specific period of time. For example, a small goal for just a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever. Ideally 3 to 4 months. Have a goal for just 3 to 4 months. That's the micro goal. And the macro goal is like this big goal you have. These goals that will take you 5 to 10 years. Have that as a central point. Be thinking, okay, I have this big goal, and it will kind of set everything up for you. Have a small goal and have a big goal. The small goal is to be like, it can be 3 months, it can be 4 months, it can be even the year. It can be for like, we're in June right now, like, so maybe it can be from now to December. It's very important to write not just a massive goal that it will take so much energy from you, and don't write a small goal, it will be very easy for you. Just there's this concept of like Goldilocks law says that this motivation is at its highest when a goal is relatively challenging close to you. So for example, if let's say your goal is to hit maybe 3K a month, if you've ever hit, for example, 1K a month, it's reasonable to reach 3K. But if you've never reached that thing, to be a little bit harder, but at the same time it's a little bit challenging, so you can. But if you just say like the goal maybe like 10K a month and you've never hit 1K a month, to be somehow unreasonable for you to reach that. There is no, like I had this somewhere else, they say that there is no unrealistic goal. It's just that there are unrealistic timelines. So for a timeline is probably unrealistic, but the goal is not unrealistic. So write it down, take your time and write it down. And then there's a 4th step, a very good step. And as you can see in my category, my goals, and then there's this writing up. Don't worry, I will explain everything to you. It's very important. Have you ever watched like Indian series? Maybe like this Indian series or like this series in general. If you observe the very last part, as you can see, is like written in a darker ink. The very last part of a movie, is very, very curiosity driven, I would say. For example, like you might see someone holding like a gun, like trying to make suicide, and more on the next episode, you just turn on this novelty. You would, I would say, turn on this curiosity. You want to see something that is that will happen the next time, and I would want you to do that as well. But with the slight caveat, people like us, most people will just write, okay, just they will discipline themselves to document what's happening. But people like us, I need discipline to document less because I know myself. I would like document like 3 4 times a day and just give up and whatever. I discipline myself to document one goal a week or one category of a goal a week. I have four, so about a month. I will just cycle about one time every single week, every month. And when you do that, I promise you. Let's just take my first goal or the Quran goals. At the end of the, you see that I wrote, okay, there was a trauma that fueled me to compete in like this like Quran competition. I'm more on that on the next episode, which is episode 5. When someone is reading this and he reads, there's a trauma, I will like, yeah, I want to know about this. I'm not trying to say okay, write it for someone else, but for some reason, when you just do that, you start to like get this, I would say, this spike of motivation. I'm telling you, I promise you, the moment I wrote this, I wanted to like write for my goals, I wanted to write my relationship, I wanted to write everything. By discipline myself. And I wrote about like 1 2 3 4 5, yes, 5 weeks now. And today is Sunday, I will write for the 6th week, inshallah. And I was just waiting from like Sunday. I have to wait next week before I write this thing. I promise you to create just this spike, this motivation, and that is very, very needed for your next step. Step number 5, which is pick one category of the goal. Yes, I mean it's one. Keep the rest of the categories on maintenance. And what I mean by that is when you pick one goal, and from the story I mentioned in the first part of the video, I talked about doing this what's it called, Quran competition. Sorry, Quran memorization about the last 50 days, and I neglected everything else. I promise you, everything was out of the picture. Everything was gone. Just Quran. Now my relationship with my family, not my friends, nothing. The only focus, even making money, nothing. The only focus was on Quran, and that's it. It has its advantages because had it been I didn't even do those things, I would not be in this position right now. But it's a recipe for failure. What I want you to do is focus on one thing, but keep the rest of your things in maintenance. Maintenance is basically doing the bare minimum. You just, for example, about Quran. If, for example, you have this big goal, for example, my work, I'm entering like I've already entered a season of work. That is why you see my videos are more consistent on this channel. So the Quran, like I mentioned, just do the bare minimum muraja, like every 10 days, every 7 days, whatever. So just do a muraja. You don't need to procrastinate, just do a muraja so that it's not sweep off. And also, for example, your relationship with family, you can see them multiple times a week, like 3 5 times a week. Ideally, you can do it every single day. Ideally about an hour every single day, sometimes less than that. But don't just call yourself away from your family, call yourself away from your friends and everything because you want to focus on this goal. Because after some time, you will feel awful, and that feeling to break all the pillars. And just for context, there's this Quran competition that I wanted to compete earlier this year. I mentioned the story in this channel. I turned off my phone completely. And I was saying that I'm trying to understand my phone. I pressed the power button, looking at my phone, seeing the Apple logo. Well, sorry. Literally, imagine that I was holding my phone. I wanted to use my phone. I just pressed the power button. In my face, the screen just turned off. I put it in my drawer. I haven't even touched the phone for 3 days. Imagine 3 days. Sometimes I did it for about a week. There is no interaction with the phone. I'm not saying like I turn it on to like make a phone call. No, no, no. I turn it off. Off. And it really propelled me. But the thing is that I neglected, I was tracking my progress in this meditation in like this app called Medito. And because I turned my phone completely off, I have no way to track it. And I had about 40 days streak, I think I had them. I stopped sleeping at night. I stopped sleeping in my bed. I went to this madrasa to like revise Quran. I neglected my sleep, even though I was coming back to sleep in about 4 hours in the daytime as well, 3 4 hours in the daytime. Just that I was neglecting my sleep. My sleep was not very good. I tried to memorize at the time when my brain was not optimal. I was trying to like memorize at 10, and I'm naturally a morning person. Had it been I slept, I would have like memorized more. But I was just trying to force it out until around 1 a.m. and I would sleep and I would get so dizzy and everything. I don't say dizzy. I would get so like my brain, my like you see how like the what's it called, veins in my head, trying like to memorize and all these things. I will come back and I will sleep. All these things. Some days like you see my eyes is red. I really need sleep. I really need sleep. But I just neglected the sleep and I was fully focused on this Quran competition. It's a very big mistake you can make because after some time you would feel awful. You feel awful, man. And don't neglect anything. Don't neglect all the things. Focus on this big thing. Even if you neglect all the things, like this sleep is very important because one of the few guys I mentioned in my channel was on sleep. The first one was on Tahajjud and then the second one was on sleep because I knew how important a sleep is. Nowadays, Alhamdulillah, I sleep very early. Alhamdulillah. Which I think in one of my videos I will mention how I'm able to like sleep early if you're interested to be posted in a few days. I'm able to do all these things. And when you combine all these steps, I promise you, you will see so much progress in your goals. And I will give you a pro tip. The reason you're not seeing your progress is because you're not seeing your progress, you're not visualizing your progress. The progress is just in your mind. And because the progress is in your mind, you don't really see where it's going to. I do have a habit tracker. You don't see it, but it's right there. I have a habit tracker. I also have about 4 months of tracking my progress. This is the fifth month I'm running around. When you see, I do like color coding. I have like this. Okay, I have like these two markers, green and red. I would document green. I would say I would color code green for when I did the thing, and I will color red when I don't do the thing. I don't really like seeing the red, so that's just why I prefer the green. I used to track my progress and very quick. There was a time I removed the thing for just 3 days. I instantly just become disorganized. I started becoming this inconsistent and all these things because I just removed the habit tracker. So it's very important. Keep a habit tracker. Try to visualize the progress. Okay. So I'll say gamify the progress. And I really like the concept of like gamifying the process because if I've been playing video games for a while. Okay, I've been playing video games for a while. Just designing is very beautiful. I think there's in this book Atomic Habits it talks about making it attractive. So if you know video games, like you know how to really design it to make it very beautiful and all these things, combining it with this thing, I promise you would love it. I can't wait to finish this video. Write this thing on my the next episode. I promise you it's very very good. So now let's talk about before I end the video. Let's talk about the last things, the don'ts. And before I move to the section of the video, the don'ts, the things you're not supposed to do, I want to give you a story of this step 5. Back in 2024, I think 2025 as well, I was focused. Even I did just mention the story of 2024. I also had the story of 2025. It's almost similar problem to this as well. It's just that it's in a broader sense. My elder brother, he lives in different states. He lives in basically a different country. And there was a time like during before he visited me, or he visited us, I would say, and he said he left Germany. He's living in Germany. I live in Nigeria. I think he said he left Germany around was it 6 a.m. He arrived in Nigeria around 10 p.m. That's how many hours of flights? 6, 10, 16 hours flights just to come and see us. And so even going in the 5, like some of the days he'll call me and I'll just neglect the call. I'm like, nah, I'm focused on this thing. I'll call you back. No worry, I'll call you back. Even some of my friends, they would message me, they will call me, I'll be like, I'll call you back now. It's very, very bad because sometimes, like literally, I would see the call. I'll be using my phone, for example, I will be working. Sometimes I'm not even working. I'm just like watching videos, and I'll see this message. I'll just swipe the call up and just continue watching this video. Don't get me wrong. I was not like a bad person for doing this. I might not be a bad person for doing this. It's just that when you're focused on something, you neglect this social life. And we are social people. We evolved, I would say, from. Don't get me wrong. You're not a bad person. I'm not even. Don't get me wrong. I was not a bad person for that, and you are not probably a bad person for neglect all these things. It's just that you need to understand. We human beings, we are made to be in communities. Okay, so when you just abandon everything and just focus on one thing, you will start to compromise on the rest of the things. So bear in mind, this is very important for you. And then now we talk about the don'ts. The first thing you should not do is broadcast your goals. What I mean by broadcasting your goals is that, and there's a funny story. We have like this community of it's called Deen and Dollars. I created like WhatsApp community for just three or four of my friends. We were discussing like about my goals, and we discuss like this program. I would like share some of my insights and everything like all in the group. One of our friends was like, I said randomly, I pinned that message saying that tell us your goals so that we I just said okay. There was this one time I pasted said something and I pinned it saying that write down your goals, and he was like, nah. I said, well, like why are you not gonna write the goals? And he was like, there's this like meme you've heard. He said that don't show them your goals, don't tell them your goals, show them your results. And I knew that meme for a while. I was like thinking like, what did you say? Don't. And it was like saying it in a dramatic fashion, like, don't tell them your goals, show them your results. And in my mind, I was like, oh my god, I wanted to help that person. Like really, I wanted to help him because the goals he was having, I did make progress with that. I wanted to hold him accountable. I wanted to show him certain tips and everything, but he just said, no, don't tell him your goals. I said, why not? Okay, fine. I left him. He failed that goals. It's just that I'm not saying that he had looked for advice from me, I would have helped him. No, I'm not saying that. What I mean by that is that if someone have, for example, reached the level you want to reach, it is very important for you to tell him your goals. Because when you don't tell him your goals, he would make the same mistake that he did, and this is very bad. So like, in case if you have like any goals, like say practicing Qur'an or your deen, your discipline, I have like 5 content pillars: deen, yeah, like Qur'an, whatever, your discipline, strength, brotherhood, and also the mission. So if you have any of that, these things, you can ask me for questions. I would love to hear some questions like from you as well, so I would understand. Okay, this is the kind of things that people struggle with and everything, not just only my journey. And also like learn from you. Probably made progress in areas I want to make progress, and I might make progress in areas you want to make progress in. And don't broadcast, but only tell the people you know that will help you. Like the advice in the internet, like just write down your goals in the comment section. And I think I heard this one creator saying that write down your goals in comment section and we all hold you accountable. No, that's not true. That creator, he wanted to push the algorithm. Imagine if 1,000 people write down his goals. Do you think he would remember your goals? Of course not. Okay. So don't be fooled with those things. We are as creators. We want like to boost the algorithm and everything. So I'm not trying to say that. It's just that tell certain people. It might not be me. It might be someone else. You can tell certain people about your goals. That people that would elevate you to your goals, not the rest of the people. And don't broadcast those things to the rest of the people. The second mistake is that don't paste your goals in the wall. I used to have like this area of the wall. I used to have like this my goals pasted on the wall. I promise you 100% of the time, I did this so many times. 100% of the time, I would paste a goal. The moment I paste a goal in my wall, I just lose the drive for that goal. I'll paste another thing, I would lose a drive for it. I will paste Quran goals. The moment I paste it, I would be like, so I will start to resist my Quran muraja and everything. I'm not going to know whether I'm the only person doing that, but the moment I'll just resist so many of these things. I will start to resist so many of them for some reason. I had it like saying that the moment you write down your goals, your brain just takes it as if you've achieved your goals, whatever. So I would not highly recommend, because in the past I used to have like 9 goals on my wall, 5, 6 goals on the displays. Like so many of the goals, like people to see it and everything, it just saps away all this goal. And a third maybe mistake I would say is that don't neglect the recitation. I've covered that in this video. And there are so many things you should not supposed to be doing, but stick to those few things. And I promise you, you would make so much progress in your goals. Like I mentioned, don't neglect your sleep. And if you want a detailed explanation on sleep, I have a full guide, a full 2 hours video on full guides. I would love to reach 10,000 subscribers this year, and you can help with that by clicking on the subscribe button. Other than that, I would like to end with a humble quote. Too much attention makes a donkey think he's a lion. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.